Welcome to the Jasmine Podcast.
Have you ever noticed that when you make a mistake, the loudest, angriest voice yelling at you isn't actually coming from the outside?
Oh, definitely. It's almost never the outside voice.
Right. It isn't your boss calling you into their office. Well, it isn't a teacher grading your paper. The harshest, most unforgiving voice is actually coming from inside your own head.
Yeah, that internal critic is brutal.
It really is. So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are speaking directly to you, the English language learner. Because learning a new language as an adult is an incredibly brave thing to do.
It absolutely is. You are stepping outside of your comfort zone, every single day.
Every day. But it is also really, really hard. And often the hardest part isn't memorizing new grammar rules or figuring out how to pronounce a difficult word.
No, the grammar is the easy part, relatively speaking.
Right. The hardest part is actually how we speak to ourselves when we, inevitably make a mistake. So our mission for this deep dive is to explore why we do this, how it slows down our learning, and most importantly, we're going to walk through 3 specific, everyday English phrases to help you.
3 phrases that can really fundamentally change how you treat yourself during this whole journey.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. Why is the brain so mean to us when we're just trying to learn English?
Well, learning a language makes us feel very vulnerable. You are essentially taking a fully formed, intelligent adult brain and forcing it to communicate like a beginner again.
Oh, totally. It's frustrating.
It's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
And it is completely natural to want to protect yourself from looking foolish. But the way we try to protect ourselves is, it's completely backwards.
What do you mean by backwards?
We tend to believe that if we are strict with ourselves, like if we punish ourselves for every little stutter or forgotten word, we will somehow improve faster.
Right, like being a strict teacher to ourselves.
Exactly. But if we look at the specific environment we're living in right now, in the year 2026, this habit of self-punishment is becoming a massive trap.
Because we are constantly surrounded by artificial perfection.
Yes. The AI filters.
Oh man, the AI filters. You open your phone and you see a video of someone speaking just like flawless, perfectly articulated English.
Without a single pause or mistake.
Right. And even if you read the caption and you realize, okay, they're using a real-time AI translation filter that smooths out all their stammers and corrects their accent, it still stings.
It really does. It feels terrible.
It feels like everyone else has this robot helping them look absolutely flawless while you are just sitting there as a normal, messy human being struggling to remember the past tense of a simple verb.
And that is exactly the problem. When you are exposed to those artificial AI-filtered realities all day long, it creates a profound sense of feeling inadequate.
Inadequate, meaning you just don't feel good enough.
Exactly. You feel like you are simply not good enough. You end up comparing your real everyday life and your real everyday English skills to a literal computer-generated fantasy.
Which is an impossible standard.
Literally impossible for a human brain to reach. And that impossible standard is exactly what feeds your inner critic.
But wait, why does the brain do that? If I logically know that the video I am watching isn't real life, if I know it has been edited and smoothed out by artificial intelligence, why does my brain still fall for the trick?
That's a great question.
Why do I still feel inadequate?
Because the human brain processes emotion much, much faster than it processes logic. We are biologically wired to compare ourselves to the people around us.
Like an old survival mechanism.
Exactly. It's an ancient survival mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at a screen, your amygdala, the emotional center of your brain, it reacts in milliseconds.
Milliseconds, wow.
Yeah. It sees someone succeeding socially, speaking without any hesitation, and immediately sends a panic signal. It says, I should be doing that. Why can't I do that? I am falling behind.
And the logical part of the brain is just too slow.
Right. It takes your prefrontal cortex, the logical part, a few seconds to catch up and say, wait, that's just an AI filter.
But by the time the logic arrives, the emotional damage is already done.
The damage is done. You already feel terrible.
Which leads right into the first practical vocabulary phrase we need to discuss today. When that emotional panic hits, the immediate result is that we start to be hard on oneself.
Be hard on oneself, yes.
Let's really break down how this phrase is used in everyday English. For you listening, when someone is being hard on themselves, they are criticizing themselves way too much for a normal mistake.
It is a very common idiom. You are punishing yourself for something that, frankly, doesn't deserve punishment.
Right. And the key word there is hard.
Yes. Think about the physical feeling of that word. You are acting like a hard, rigid wall against yourself rather than something soft and flexible.
I hear this all the time from people learning English. Someone might say, I completely froze in my meeting today. I forgot the word for revenue, and I just stood there looking stupid. I'm never going to get this right.
Which is so painful to hear.
It is. And if a friend said that to me, my immediate reaction would be to step in and say, hey, don't be so hard on yourself.
That is the perfect context for it. You are telling them to soften their own judgment. And, we can turn that inward, too.
How so?
If you are analyzing your own feelings after a frustrating study session, you might realize, I need to stop being so hard on myself when I mispronounce a word. Recognizing that you are doing it is the very first step.
So if you are listening to this right now, think about your own internal dialogue. When you don't understand a complicated sentence in a podcast, or when someone asks you to repeat yourself because of your accent, do you get instantly angry at yourself?
Do you call yourself names?
Exactly. If so, you are being incredibly hard on yourself. And as we just established, comparing your real progress to 2026's AI-filtered perfection is a huge part of why that anger flares up.
Oh, absolutely.
But recognizing the problem is really only half the battle. If being hard on ourselves is the default reaction, what is the alternative? I mean, how do we actually fix the way we speak to ourselves?
The alternative is a concept called self-compassion. And the simplest way to understand self-compassion is to look at the golden rule.
The golden rule. Treat other people the way you want to be treated.
Right. But self-compassion is simply reversing that rule. You need to treat yourself the way you already treat other people.
Oh, interesting.
You need to show yourself the exact same kindness you would naturally show to a good friend.
Okay, I want to really explore this because when you just say treat yourself like a friend, it sounds almost, I don't know, too simple.
Like a bumper sticker.
Yeah, it sounds like something printed on a coffee mug. But when you apply it to a real-world scenario, it reveals something deeply uncomfortable about how our minds work.
It really does.
Let's imagine a scenario. Let's say your closest friend comes over to your house. They sit down at your kitchen table, they look completely defeated, and they tell you, I just failed my big English exam. I am so stupid. I'm completely useless.
Oh, wow. If my friend sat at my table and said that, my immediate instinct would be empathy. I would want to comfort them.
Right. Would you ever look across the table at your friend, nod your head, and say, you know what? You are stupid. You probably failed because you are just not a smart person.
Never. That would be incredibly cruel. I would tell them, I'm so sorry. I know how many hours you spent studying. Tests are high-pressure situations, and sometimes our brains just freeze up.
You would reassure them.
Exactly. I'd say, failing one test doesn't mean you aren't intelligent. It just means today was a bad day. We will figure out a new study plan together.
You would offer perspective. You would remind them of the bigger picture. So here's where it gets really interesting. The million-dollar question is, if you would never call your friend stupid for failing an English test, why do you say it to yourself?
It's a tough question to answer.
It is. Why is it that when you are the one who fails the test, the very first thought in your head is, I am an idiot, I will never learn this language?
It reveals a massive, painful double standard. We are incredibly supportive of our friends' failures. When a friend makes a mistake, we view it objectively.
We see the context.
Right. We see their failure as a single, isolated event, just a temporary stepping stone in their long-term learning process. But when we look at our own failures, we lose all objectivity.
We take it so personally.
We instantly view our own mistake as a permanent flaw in our character. But what is so fascinating about this is that the kindness, the patience, and the ability to comfort someone, all of those tools are already inside of you.
You already have the vocabulary for it.
You possess them. You use them for your friends all the time. You just completely refuse to point those tools inward.
We lock the door on ourselves. Which brings us to the second phrase we need to unpack today. The active process of unlocking that door and pointing the kindness inward is called positive self-talk.
Positive self-talk, yes.
This is the practice of intentionally talking to yourself in a kind, encouraging way. It is the direct replacement for the harsh inner critic.
It is an active habit. When the critical voice says, you ruined that presentation, positive self-talk is the deliberate choice to reply with, no, I struggled with one slide, but I communicated the main idea.
Okay, wait. I am struggling with this concept a bit. Let me challenge this because I think a lot of people learning a language will hit this exact roadblock.
Sure, go ahead.
If I completely butcher a sentence during a very important business meeting and I know I embarrassed myself, aren't I just lying to myself if I use positive self-talk? I mean, if I walk out of that meeting and say, "Great job, you are amazing at English," that is delusional. I am just ignoring reality, and that doesn't feel helpful at all.
You are bringing up a vital distinction there. What you just described is toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity.
Yes. It is lying to cover up a bad feeling. Positive self-talk is absolutely not about lying to yourself or ignoring reality. If you pretend you didn't make a mistake, you can never learn from it.
Right, because the mistake still happened.
Exactly. True positive self-talk is the combination of complete honesty and deep kindness.
Honesty combined with kindness, how does that sound in practice compared to the lie?
Okay, so the lie is, my English was flawless. The client was just too dumb to understand me.
Right.
The harsh inner critic is, I ruined the meeting. My English is terrible. I should never speak in public again. Both of those are unhelpful, and neither of them is completely true.
So what does the positive self-talk sound like?
It sounds like this. I made several grammatical errors in that meeting, and it feels really embarrassing right now. But English is my second language, and navigating a business meeting in a second language is incredibly difficult. I am allowed to make mistakes. I will write down the words I forgot and practice them for tomorrow.
Oh, wow. The difference in the physical feeling of those sentences is huge. You are still acknowledging the failure. You admit you made the errors, but you aren't attacking your core identity.
Right. You are acting like that supportive friend at the kitchen table.
And if we look at the mechanics of learning, this approach actually drastically accelerates how fast your brain can acquire a new language.
It really does. When you're constantly fighting with yourself, your brain is in a state of high stress. The stress hormone, cortisol, floods your system.
And what does that do to our ability to learn words?
In a high-stress state, your brain literally shuts down its ability to absorb new vocabulary and grammar. It is too busy preparing for an attack.
An attack coming from your own mind.
Exactly. But when you use positive self-talk, your brain feels safe. A safe, calm brain absorbs and retains information much more efficiently.
But here's the confusing part, and it is a major conceptual hurdle for a lot of high-achieving adults.
I think I know what you're going to say.
People often fear that if they remove the stress, if they stop criticizing themselves and start using positive self-talk, they will just become lazy.
Yes, the fear of laziness.
The assumption is, if I'm not hard on myself, I will lose my motivation. I won't study my vocabulary flashcards. I will lose my resilience.
That is perhaps the biggest myth in personal development, and it is entirely false. We have been conditioned to believe that self-criticism is the hammer that builds a strong, tough person.
We think of the inner critic like a strict military drill sergeant screaming at us to run faster and study harder.
We assume that screaming is what creates resilience.
Let's define resilience in this context for our listeners. Resilience is your emotional strength. It is your capacity to bounce back after a difficulty. If you fall down, resilience is the energy that helps you stand back up and try again.
Precisely. And research into human psychology shows us that the drill sergeant approach doesn't actually build resilience at all. In fact, it destroys it.
Really? How so?
Let's think about the mechanism of fear. If you know that every time you make a mistake, you're going to mentally beat yourself up for hours, what does your brain naturally want to do?
Well, it wants to avoid the punishment.
It wants to avoid the punishment. So you develop a freeze response. You stop taking risks.
So you sit in the English class and you know the answer, but you stay quiet.
Exactly. You stay quiet because you are terrified of mispronouncing a word and triggering that internal drill sergeant. You don't try to chat with your coworker at the coffee machine.
Because the fear of your own self-criticism actually paralyzes you and stops you from learning.
Yes. Resilience is not built on self-criticism. True resilience is built on self-acceptance.
That shifts the entire paradigm. If you accept that you are going to make mistakes and you promise yourself that you won't trigger the drill sergeant when those mistakes happen, suddenly the fear disappears.
You are safe to raise your hand. You are safe to try speaking to the coworker.
Because true emotional strength, the ability to actually bounce back after you completely freeze in business meeting, comes from accepting the failure without the heavy burden of guilt. You look at the mistake, you learn the lesson, and you move forward.
Beautifully said.
Which brings us to the third and final everyday phrase we are exploring today. And honestly, this might be one of the most beautiful idioms in the English language.
I agree.
The phrase is to give oneself some grace.
To give oneself some grace. Usually when we hear the word grace, we think of physical elegance.
Right, like a ballet dancer moving with grace.
Or we think of it in a religious context, like saying a prayer before a meal. But in modern, everyday conversational English, giving yourself grace means giving yourself permission to be imperfect.
I love that.
It means offering yourself forgiveness and gentleness when things don't go according to plan.
Think about how much physical relief is contained in that idea, especially for an adult learning English. You are going to mix up your verb tenses.
You will.
You are going to use the wrong preposition. You are going to have days where your brain is tired and you feel like you have forgotten literally every word you ever learned.
We all have those days.
When that happens, you do not need to be angry. You just need to give yourself some grace.
Going back to our earlier discussion about the AI-filtered world of 2026, giving yourself grace is the ultimate psychological defense mechanism against that feeling of inadequacy.
How does it protect us from the AI filters?
When you see a flawlessly edited video of someone speaking perfect English, and you start feeling a wave of panic about your own slow progress, you can take a breath and say, I am giving myself some grace today.
I am a real human being learning a real language at my own pace.
Exactly.
Let's put this phrase into a concrete scenario, because I want our listeners to really feel how these three phrases work together.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's say I go to a coffee shop tomorrow. I want to try ordering a complicated drink in English. I walk up to the counter, I get confused, I stutter, and the barista just looks at me blankly.
Oh, that's the worst feeling.
It really is. I end up pointing at the menu and walking away feeling flushed and embarrassed. As I sit down with my coffee, my inner critic starts revving up. What do? Let's use our three phrases to rewrite that internal monologue.
Okay, so the first step is awareness. You notice the drill sergeant waking up, and you stop it by using our first phrase. You tell yourself, okay, stop. Don't be so hard on yourself. It was just a cup of coffee.
Okay, so I stop the bleeding. Then I actively replace the critical voice using our second tool. Positive self-talk. I combine honesty with kindness.
Exactly. You say, yes, I panicked and forgot the words. That was uncomfortable. But ordering in a loud, busy cafe in a second language is genuinely difficult. I was brave for even trying without using a translation app.
Wow, that already feels better. And then finally, I seal the experience and protect my resilience by using the third phrase.
You take a sip of your coffee and say, I'm going to give myself some grace. I will look up the right vocabulary words when I get home, and I will try again next week.
You completely diffuse the anxiety. You transition the experience from a painful, embarrassing failure into just, well, a neutral stepping stone.
If you can master these three concepts, not just memorizing them as English vocabulary words, but actively practicing them as habits in your own mind, your entire experience of learning this language will transform.
It changes the journey from an exhausting battle against your own mind into a process of continuous, sustainable growth.
You stop draining your energy with internal conflict, which leaves so much more energy available for actual learning.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? In a modern world that is constantly projecting impossible AI standards, you have full permission to be real.
You really do.
You do not need to be your own harshest critic. Remember the friend sitting at the kitchen table who failed their test? Remember the warmth, the patience, and the compassion you would show them without hesitation.
You deserve that exact same compassion.
And this leaves us with a profound question about how we spend our internal resources.
The human brain only has so much energy to spend in a single day.
Right. Think about how much of that daily energy you currently burn up just being angry at your own mistakes. Think about the mental exhaustion of fighting the inner critic.
It's exhausting.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you continue your English studies this week. If you completely stopped using your mental energy to punish yourself, if you successfully quieted the drill sergeant, gave yourself grace, and embraced self-acceptance, what amazing new things could you learn and accomplish with all of that leftover positive energy?
The possibilities are endless.
Think about it. Be kind to yourself today, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.